Tips with Toni. Tips with Toni. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Toni. Tips with Toni. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Toni. Woo.
Hello and welcome to the Tips with Toni podcast. I'm Toni Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. If you're a new listener, welcome to the podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe or follow, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It will make sure, by doing that, it makes sure that you get notified every Monday and every Wednesday when a new episode comes out. So I hope you are enjoying these episodes. If you're not a new listener and you've been listening for a while, I really, really appreciate the support. This next interview is with a trainer, Kerenza, who I adore. And we go over questions like, how do you get a toned body? How much strength training is enough strength training? How do you create long-term change? And how do you deal with FOMO, fear of missing out, when you're going through those changes of maybe going out to eat and staying out late and partying, and now you're trying to wake up early and eat healthier, and maybe your friends aren't doing those things. So it's a really, really great episode. I know you're going to love it. So let's get into it. Here is the interview with Kerenza, personal trainer and online nutrition coach. Enjoy. Hello, how are you?
Hi, good. How's it going?
Great. I'm so excited to have you. Cannot wait. So please introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do.
Yes. Okay. So my name is Kerenza Belgrave. I am a personal trainer as well as a nutrition coach. And why I do what I do, I personally went through my own fitness journey, let's say, and on my own kind of pursuit of happiness, I like to call it. And that pretty much came out of a very dark place, similar to a lot of fitness individuals that you see. But I kind of had my own, I guess, younger background from it. So from when I was a kid, I basically just dealt with my own kind of self-esteem issues and just really not feeling comfortable in my skin, not really looking like a lot of the kids that were in my neighborhood. So always just kind of feeling like very isolated in that sense, even though I did have friends and everything like that growing up. That kind of led me into some pretty bad habits of under-eating. So led me into like more of like an anorexia eating disorder, eating like under 300 calories a day. And from there, just packing on some more bad habits, going into college, becoming, a crazy like party girl, so to say, and really realizing from there that, this is just not really the life that I can see myself sustaining. This is not the person that I want to be. And once I kind of got tired of feeling crappy and just like not waking up happy on a daily basis, I figured something had to change, and I went on my own journey, and that led me into becoming a trainer and a coach.
Awesome. Your story, I was like, yep, I know that one. Like, that's so similar to mine, but I think so many of us go through that.
Yeah.
In our own way, whether it's insecurity of our bodies or insecurity of whether we're good at school or insecurity about playing a sport. We're just going to always go through that, and people are going to point it out to us. And so it's really cool that you were able to learn from that and grow from that and now make a career out of it. I think that's so powerful. I think that's what makes passionate people so passionate, is because like they know how it felt to be on the other side.
Definitely. Because you just know that, we kind of come out on the other side, right? And then everybody kind of sees this lighter person or this more positive person, but they don't know that during all of the, I just kind of went through that in like a minute or two. That's like over 10 years of my life that I was going through all of that. And there was a lot of obstacles. It definitely wasn't as easy as I'm
sure. Well, let's talk about the fact that I'm sure you had, you were this party girl you were going out, late at night, probably drinking, whatever it was.
Oh, yeah.
And now, I mean, I'm sure your life is a lot different because to support your health and fitness goals, not that we can't drink and, go out and have fun, but right. I'm sure there's definitely, you had to make some sort of like a shift.
Oh, yeah.
Being able to do that.
Definitely. Because from instead of like seeing the sun come up every morning, from still being up the night before, it was more, I was waking up. And just making like one change at a time. That's, I would say, the biggest thing that I did was, all right, I really wanted to become this whole new person, but I was like, okay, I'm not going to become that person overnight,
So how did you start? What did you do? What was like the first thing that you did?
So I would say the very first thing I started doing was I downloaded probably like every food tracking app that I could find. I think there was like Noom, there was MyFitnessPal, there was
Noom was around back then?
Yeah.
I always thought that was newer.
It looked completely different. And I was like, when I remember seeing it, like thinking that it was newer, and I was like, wait a second, I definitely used that like a long time ago, but it was like terrible back in the day. So I'm sure, like, I don't know if it maybe got like somebody bought it, just made it completely better, because it's like a complete 360 from what it used to be. But I used like any app that I could possibly find, not saying that I used all of them successfully. I just was like, well, I have to start somewhere. So I wanted to basically find what was going to be the best app for me to start tracking my food at least. I liked that it would give me goals, but like MyFitnessPal, when I started using it, it was probably like 2012, 2013, maybe. So it didn't look like what it looks now either. But it was just a good way for me to have an idea of what I was eating. Not that I really knew what I was doing. I was just like, okay, like I should like have an idea of what I'm eating and like how many calories I'm eating. So I just started by doing that. And then while I was obviously tracking, I actually used Instagram a lot, and just like started Googling a whole bunch of things, like different workouts, and different recipes, because I was in college at the time. I was in my senior year when I was like, okay, I'm really going to get serious about this. And I really hated the food on campus. Like I used to use my meal plan to like buy other people food. It's so they can give me cash so I can go and buy better food.
Oh my God, that is so smart.
I was like, if I'm going to have all this money, I'm like, because people are always like running out of dining dollars and stuff like that on campus. So I was like, oh, here, like, I'll get you food. Just give me like $5. And they're just like, oh, okay. And like, I would like basically like if they're buying like $10 of food, I would like deduct it. I would make them pay less, but they would get more food, because I knew that I'm going to take this money and like go to the grocery store
totally
and buy something cheap.
I love that. Oh my God, you were a businesswoman back then.
I really I was like, I gotta make money somehow. Listen, so you gotta be resourceful.
Yes, I love that. That is amazing. I love that so much. God, that is great. That is great. So I'm curious though, because I'm sure although you started making small changes over time, I'm sure there was part of you that like feared missing out on, they call it FOMO, fear of missing out on like going out and partying. And did your friends change? Like, how did people around you start? Did they comment? Did they like, what changed when you started changing?
Yes. So, a couple of things. So I had, I guess like 2 sets of like friends, I guess, in school. And part of what led to me being like, okay, I want to start this new journey was a really bad experience with one group. I basically got drugged in college. And and so I basically like, I woke up in front of like my RA's door, had no idea how I got there, and then I got into my room and it was terrible. Let's just leave it at that. I was okay. Like nothing bad I had a concussion. I guess that's bad. Something bad happened to me, but like nothing like terrible happened to me. But that was basically when I realized that, okay, I have to stop hanging out with at least these people. And then I still had like another set of friends and everything like that. So I kind of hung out with them. I kind of isolated myself from a lot of people. And then I just started going to the gym with my like boyfriend at the time. And we just started working out. And I just like wanted to kind of just get away from everyone. And so my friends definitely changed. I kind of purposefully removed myself from a group of friends. I wasn't going out as much. I think I went like almost the last 3 months of college, I think minus like graduation weekend, but like 2 or 3 months in college where I just like didn't drink any alcohol at all. I walked around with like a gallon of water, or just like a huge water jug. And like, I definitely felt very isolated at the time. I also like when I would go home, my family was like, why are you eating so differently? Like I didn't want to eat anything that everyone else was eating. So it was a big change for me. And I felt super judged like all the time. I felt like I had no idea what I was doing in the gym. It was just, everything was really new to me, but I was just like, this is the person that I want to be. I want to be this fit person. And so I have to at least start doing the things that they do. Totally. I didn't really know what the hell was going on.
Yeah. And also it sounds like the alternative was just like not even an option. So right, it's like, exactly. Although you may have felt isolated at the time, it was better than being around people that could literally put you in a position to put your health and everything just not in a good state at all. And I think now, like you said, back then you didn't know what you were doing, but now, I mean, it's pretty clear that you've been able to like have, I guess, the best of both worlds, and not the negative friends, but like being able to socialize and being around family. And yes, I mean, do they still? I know for my family, they still make comments here and there, but I no longer care or feel judged or anything. I just like this is who I am. So like,
yes. No, but we've definitely gotten to that point.
But it's like you're moved on to that, right? Where it's like no longer, you don't really feel isolated. You just recognize that you're in the minority. Crazy fact, I just learned this. I really need to figure out where the statistic was from because I heard it and I ran with it, and I'm sure it's true, but I have to like triple check. But either way, apparently only 2% of Americans are really committed to living healthier lives.
That's really crazy. That's
2%.
And it's funny. I was just talking to my friend about this because he was like, I really need to start eating better, because he even has like a whole condition and everything like that, and he even will like still like binge drink and everything like that, and he's just like, I really need to start making a change. And I'm like, well, yeah and I'm sure there's like probably like maybe there's only 2% of us doing it, but there's probably like 70% of people that are like, I know that I need to do this. I
think that's the exact post I put on Instagram. Just because we know better, we do better. And then I wrote, only 2%
and I shared that.
Yeah, literally, that is the exact post. Yeah, we could end this podcast. That was good.
Just mic drop.
But yeah, I mean, like, just because we know better, we don't always do better, right?
Right.
So our bodies are telling us. We know this. Like, our bodies, our minds, our spirit, everything is like, we know eating healthier, we feel better. Exercising, we feel better. But you're right. We don't always know what to do. So sometimes it starts from a very messy place. Actually, I would say most of the time, unless you work with a professional right away, which most people wait till the end to work with a professional. Yeah. Like I know anytime anybody comes into my program, I'm reversing all of the stuff they've done over the years that, although it got them to a certain place, it may have been more damaging, but that's another argument. But like either way, it does take time, but you have to remember, what's the alternative? The alternative, feeling uncomfortable in your skin, feeling like you could be doing better, just feeling tired, feeling groggy, feeling unfocused, feeling like lack of clarity, like so many factors. And so I think that was cool that you were able to see, okay, although I don't really know what I'm doing, I know that I don't want to go back. Like you were just committed to the plan, but flexible with the approach. Another one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah.
I have a flexible approach.
I like that.
Yeah. So
yes.
Really great. So I guess, we kind of alluded it to a little bit. I have a couple questions, so I want to make sure we have enough time for questions, but I wanted to really make sure that we took the time to talk about, like you said, it's taken you about 10 years to get to this point. But you've been able to sustain it. So I guess, how do you really create that long-term change? What would you say to someone who really wants to create that long-term sustainable change?
So it kind of comes from that. First, it's that kind of realization piece, which we can agree probably like 70 or more % of people are at. Like, I know that I need to kind of make this change, right? So it definitely comes through that first realization piece. But okay, so what do you kind of do with that? It's realizing that, but you also have to realize the resistance that's going to come with that also. So if you really want to make a lasting change, you're going to have to realize that, like, yeah, you want to make this change. It's not going to come easy. There's going to be things that your mind or your body feels like is threatening, because it's going to take you now out of that comfort zone. So you have to kind of be prepared, because I mean, there's no way to really prepare for it, but you just have to know that you're going to have to start doing things differently, just behaving differently and making choices that actually like empower your new life, I would say. So whether that's just waking up, 30 minutes earlier every morning, or whether that's, prepping your lunch the night before, so that way you know that you're going to be prepared the next day. Just making sure that you're living through that empowered action on a daily basis, and knowing that you have a goal at the end of the race. So you want to realize it, and then you also want to make sure that you have some sort of support. So whether that's, you're doing this with a friend, for example, like I mentioned, my college boyfriend at the time was the person I was going to the gym with. But some people, that might be, your sibling, or it could be like, just joining, maybe an online group even. You could be like me and kind of feel like isolated. So I use things like Instagram, and Facebook. I joined different groups and just started following different people to kind of inspire me, which kind of brings me to that next piece of that visualization piece, of making that change. You want to be able to actually visualize, okay, like, where am I going? And be able to see that, okay, like, I can get there, and then map out those steps. So know your how, I guess, is kind of that next step. So knowing, okay, like, what am I going to start doing? And you don't have to figure everything out at once. I was like, okay, I'm going to start tracking my food. That was step number 1. So anytime that you want to really make a change and start progressing yourself into a journey, you have to make sure that you're just all you have to do is just solve your next problem. You don't have to solve all of your problems. You're not going to lose 100 pounds in a month, but you could lose 3 to 5, that's a more doable goal. For example, you could replace your, sugary breakfast cereal with, something like a more sustainable, like an overnight oats, for example. That's something that you can do. So setting those, like, you have your bigger goal at the end. Like mine was, I want to be an overall healthier, happier person. But okay, what are those smaller goals? So start kind of mapping out those smaller goals to get you to that final, I guess, destination. One thing that I feel like people think or don't think of, when they start to go on a journey or want to create some sort of change, is really kind of envisioning the feeling of what it's going to feel like when you get there. Because if you don't really hang on to, like, okay, I'm going to feel really great, with whether it's, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, or I'm going to, build a bigger butt, or I'm just going to, lower the inflammation in my body through food, for example. It could be anything. But just knowing that, like, how are you going to feel once you get to wherever it is that you want to go? And then kind of having that, I don't know, I guess, and working your way. So start replacing those bad habits with those good habits. So don't stay out till 5 a.m. Wake up at 5 a.m.
Yes.
and start your day there. Don't end it there, for example.
So
That's probably my biggest one. Because I even say that to my parents. I'm like, I'm someone who used to like go to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning. And now I turned myself into the person who woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be at the gym by like 5:30. So, it's kind of mapping that out. So I guess if it's like knowing that change, knowing that comes with some resistance, getting yourself some support, visualizing your how. And then, what was my last step? And then envisioning what that's going to feel like. And then, of course, take some action.
Yeah,
there.
you have to be an action taker and know that it's an experiment. Like, I think
Right.
Know that nothing is permanent. We're trying it out, but we want to stick with what works. And when it doesn't work, throw it out.
Right. So kind of embracing and learning from that.
Yeah. And not throwing out like, okay, if we had issues getting up early, we keep trying those things. But I mean, like throwing it out if it's like you told yourself you're only going to eat vegetables, like, or maybe that's bad. You're only going to have pizza on like Fridays and Sundays, but like it doesn't, I don't know. I can't think of a good example, but like some rules that I think a lot of people put on these like own rules for themselves.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like, they realize it doesn't work and it's like, okay, there's other ways to do it. Like, it's okay.
Right.
You know what's a good one? Like the not eating after like 8 p.m.
I was just gonna.
Yeah. Like that rule, like, listen, people, sometimes we eat after 8 p.m. and it's okay.
Yeah. It's fine. You're gonna be fine.
You're gonna be fine. But that's a whole other topic. Anyways. All right. I wanted to make a comment because you said something that I thought was really important, but I kind of forgot what I was gonna say. So it'll come to me. But I had two questions. Well, one was kind of a question that I already answered. I already recorded a podcast about it, but I said I would have a part two because I felt like I wanted to have a trainer on to help answer this question. And the question was, how do you get a toned body?
That's a very popular question. Very, very popular. And first I'm going to kind of break down like the word, like what is a toned body? Yes. Because you hear it so much. I want to be, I want to tone up, or I just want to kind of tone out my arms, or, you hear it a lot, especially as a trainer. And really what that means is people are just looking for that, I guess like leaner look where you can kind of see maybe the shape of your muscles from like the outside of your body, I guess, not like totally like ripped or anything like that, but kind of have a little bit more shape and definition, I would say, in your overall body composition. So that like leaner look, I guess, is what people are referring to. Like maybe that's not having a complete six pack, but you want like a flatter belly. Maybe you don't want, a lot of people say like, like the jiggle under your arms, or you don't want your thighs to touch, like things like that, basically. And honestly, for that, everyone hates when I answer things like this. It depends. But I mean,
the classic answer, but it's so individualized for the person.
It really, really is. I mean, there are some things that you'll want to start doing. You may want to like have at least maybe like at least 3 times to 4 times a week, having some sort of cardio activity. And then of course, weight training. Weight training is really going to be your ticket to kind of building and shaping your body the way that you want to. And then that cardio aspect will just be, again, you just want to have that as part of your routine regardless, no matter what your goals are, so to say. And then I would say the toned look, you're going to find those in, say like a higher repetition. So you want to stay at reps 10 or above, for example, with a moderate weight. So when you say moderate weight, that's a weight that you can really lift anywhere between 8 to maybe 12 reps. It's a moderate weight. Anything below 8 reps would be considered something like a heavier weight, for example. But again, it does depend and vary. Nutrition, I say to everybody, plays a huge, huge, huge role in that overall toned look, especially in your midsection. So when everyone wants to, flatten out their tummies or build abs, I'm always going to tell people, what does your diet look like?
Yeah.
What are you eating on a daily basis? Because honestly, it doesn't really matter how, you could do all the right toning exercises. But I mean,
guys, you can't see
yes.
You can't see it.
Yes. Yeah. I had to say it like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're not eating right for your body, it's just not going to happen. And then if that toned look comes with losing weight, again, the only way to lose weight is to go into that calorie deficit. And I think I actually just talked about this today in my story that a lot of us eat so little calories or so few calories that it's hard to even bring yourself into that deficit. So those are kind of the caveats of it, I guess. But the key thing is, I guess, or the takeaways, higher repetitions, keep up with your cardio, don't go excessive with it. And then your eating habits, going into that caloric deficit and upping your protein intake as well will help you at least get there.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And that's one thing I definitely didn't talk about was the higher repetitions. And I just was like, do strength training. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I was like, yeah, but that part is really true. It's like doing, like you were saying, more repetitions. Because although you might be very strong, if you can lift very heavy, that's still great. That's still good for your bone density. That's still good for your overall health. But it's not going to give you a look that you're trying to achieve.
Right, exactly.
I always tell people is that when you're striving for aesthetic goals, like the way you look, it's going to be very different in your nutrition and your exercise regimen. Everything's going to vary based off if you're trying to do a performance goal.
Right.
Think about how many strong.
I was gonna say bodybuilding and the strongest man competition.
Strongest man, yeah. Not a lot of them actually have a belly. They don't usually. Some of them are chiseled and stuff, but some of them
but they carry a much larger build, to them. Whereas if you look at a physique bodybuilder or for women bikini bodybuilding, for example, they have very, very lean looks and very low body fat percentage, and that's to look aesthetically that, for example.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I feel like the average person probably wants that nice meat in the middle.
Yeah, that's what they're saying when they're saying tone. She was in a live of mine, but not on the podcast. One of my friends, she's a nutrition coach and a personal trainer. And when she says, so when someone comes to her for a toned look, she asks for them to send me a picture of what you want to look like. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really great way for us to realize oh, okay, that's what you mean. So if you're listening to the podcast, if you talk to your trainer and you say, I want to look toned, send them a picture because they might not know what that means. And your version of toned is different than my version of toned, honestly.
Yeah. And I tell people, I like to get really specific. I either ask for a picture or I tell them, paint me a picture of what you want. If you, say if we could just make this tomorrow, what do you want to be bigger, smaller, anything like that? How do you envision yourself looking? And then, have them paint the picture for you as well. It is important to really, especially if you're a trainer working with clients, to know that, because if you're training someone without knowing what they want to look like, you're going to be giving them whatever the hell you want to give that. And at the end of the day, they're going to think that what you didn't work for them.
Totally.
And you don't want that,
Right.
So
exactly. Okay. So I got a question from Erica. She's a listener of the podcast. And I think it actually is a great segue, into the previous question about how to get toned. I'm not sure if so that's the thing that kind of goes back to what's the goal. So I'm not sure what her goal is, but this is her question. So you can answer it as best as you feel. So Erica asks, how many times or for how long should I be weight training? I go to boxing club 3 to 4 times per week.
Okay. So with that, I mean, I don't know Erica's specific goals, but just in general, kind of a general rule of thumb for weight training, I would say, you want to be weight training. You don't need to be weight training for 2 hours a day. You don't need to have any sort of 2-hour weight training session. I would say keep it under an hour. You could even keep it 45 minutes and 15 minutes of a steady state cardio, for example, for the average person that, wants to just be healthy on a daily basis. I would say 4 times a week. If you can get there 5 times, great, but make the most out of it. If you are going to go 4 times a week, get a good program for yourself that's progressing you. And, you should be seeing results within that time. You don't need to spend excessive amounts of hours in the gym to see results.
Mm-hmm. So about 45 minutes, 4 times per week.
I would say 45 minutes to an hour. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Depending on how fast you're working and stuff.
Okay. And what else? So she says she goes to a boxing club 3 to 4 times per week. So boxing is interesting, right? Because boxing, unless I don't know if they're talking about I know there's boxing and then there's kickboxing.
Like kickboxing.
Yeah. Where some have weights and some don't, I believe.
Right.
But they're still punching. I'm curious about what your thoughts are with that. Cause it's technically, is that resistance training or no?
So I would say if you're looking at just a regular boxing class where you're with a bag and everything like that, that I would consider that to be strength training, although boxing does have its own cardio element to it as well. With the movements, and it is a little bit more high intensity at the same time, even though, you're just punching, but it can be a lot. It's a lot of effort. And you getting a lot out there too. So with kickboxing, I should say, that I would say is more geared toward being a cardio-based workout, but it does have elements of strength. So it's almost it's kind of like the opposite, I guess, of what I said. So boxing is going to be more of that strength piece with a cardio aspect. Kickboxing is going to be more of that cardio piece with a strength element to it.
Got it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I guess, So, I mean, Erica, you can let us know if we answered your question, but it sounds like 3 to 4 times per week of doing a boxing club is almost there.
Yeah. I mean, she could, if she's going 3 times a week and she just wants to add in, say one day just at the gym, just hitting just straight up weights and strength training, she can go in for, 45 minutes to an hour, knock out a good weight training workout. And, she's kind of rounded out her week. She could always go for a daily walk. That'll help her out too.
Totally. Yeah. And I think everybody knows at this point, through listening to me and now that they'll start following you, it's really what you can stick to is always the best thing. So I think that's great that, she's already doing 3 to 4 times a week. If she wants to kick it up a notch, you just gave her a nice way to do that. But obviously always stick to what's sustainable.
Right. Exactly. So if she was going 3 times a week, maybe she wants to mix it up now, drop down to 2 times a week and implement, maybe a different strength training routine 2 to 3 more times in the week. There's another option for her there.
Totally. Awesome. All right. Well, so tell us a little bit more because we're wrapping up. We're getting a little short on time. So tell us more about kind of what you do with your online personal training. Do you write programs for people?
So pretty much I will go through in terms of the training itself. I use pretty much an app and I will assign your actual workouts on a weekly basis in between those weeks. Even though I have things planned for you, I don't actually release every single workout for the duration that you'll be working out with me because life happens.
Yeah, that's probably better and less overwhelming and more realistic.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it just helps my clients, be able to see. And the good thing is once they've been working with me a longer amount of time, they have all the workouts that they've done. So they're actually able to see their own progression. They're able to see their personal bests. They're able to see anything in terms of like reps that were changed. They're able to see like goals that they were hitting. So I assign goals pretty much weekly, whether it's nutrition or whether it's for their actual training goals, for example. And then we check in weekly. So we have a conversation pretty much weekly. We'll either do like a Zoom call or just get on the phone. I always just want to make sure that I either get some sort of FaceTime or like voice time, I guess, with my clients to just make sure that A, I'm holding them accountable. B, they have that support system there. C, they can kind of just like vent out things to me. Like if it was kind of like a train wreck of a week, let's talk about that. And, how did we kind of respond to it? And that's really where I kind of tap into more of the client's mental piece is on those calls, those decision-making skills and things like that. How do we kind of manage? So if I have a client that's like, hey, so I have a work event, and there's going to be a whole bunch of food there, how do I kind of navigate that? So I like to pretty much help people on like their weekly situations, but I'm still giving them a plan to follow. But of course, I want to make sure that they can sustain this as well. So how do we basically take what you've already done or already are doing and really take things to the next level? So whether you are just beginning and you've never been to the gym, you have no idea what you're doing, like kind of how I was when I started. I was like, oh, well, I'm tracking my food and I'm doing some squats, doing some things. You could be at that point. You could be at the point where you're like, hey, I already lost 50 pounds on my own. And now I'm kind of plateauing. I can meet you there and we can kind of see what's not working for you and make things work. So I work with people basically who really want to make a longer lasting change as well. Just because I've gone through it. I've done all the quick fixes and all that stuff. And I know that it doesn't work. So I simply just don't teach to that.
Yeah.
I love working with people who are super, super committed and they already had kind of that thought process that we were going through. And now they're looking for someone to kind of map out their how they're at that step, for example.
Love that. I love that. Awesome. So how can people find you?
Yes. So you can, my email is coachingwithkerenza@gmail.com. They could go ahead and follow me on Instagram, truly_Kerenza. On Facebook, you can also follow me at Your Legacy by Kerenza.
Awesome.
That's how you can find me.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Oh, I would say that at the very least, if you're thinking about making a change, just start, because you're never, ever going to be ready. Like, just start doing something. Download an app, follow a new person, like, you or I. And, get yourself some support and just, start solving your next problem, one step at a time.
Love that. Love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
To meeting up again. We'll see each other soon.
Yes.
But thank you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, guys, I hope you loved that episode. If you did, please screenshot it, share it on your story, tag me, tag Kerenza. Let us know that we provided you with some value. It really inspires us and motivates us to keep doing what we're doing. If you have any questions, you know how to find me. Reach out to Kerenza, whoever you need to support your journey. Just know that we are here for you. All right, guys, that's it for me today. Talk to you soon.